So it probably comes as no surprise to any of you that today we're only a couple of weeks away from being halfway through 2025. And what a year it's already been. Like, it's already been a year. And it's turned out very different than I'm sure our best intentions on January 1st had hoped. In recent days, we've watched tensions around the world escalate. The fragile ceasefires dissolving through our fingers, unrest deepening, and the suffering of so many continuing without relief. It does feel like it's too much. Like hope is slipping. Like peace is some impossible pie in the sky kind of dream. And yet, it's precisely times like these when a hopeful, grounded vision for the future matters most. And I think even a short-term vision like the No King's Day, as we witnessed with yesterday's protest, is a grand example of a vision. A vision helps us navigate the fog of human confusion and discord. Vision becomes our spiritual compass, pointing us toward what's possible, even when the path ahead looks more like a wilderness. In the Hebrew scriptures, Proverbs 29:18 tells us, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's probably one of the few citations from the King James Version that I hold to. These words have echoed through generations, not because we need a perfect plan as God's people, but because we need spiritual direction. We need divine focus. We need creative and positive imagination, and we need purpose-filled motivation. As the halfway point of the year approaches, we really are standing at a threshold where we can look back on where we've been, listen to where we are being led, and discern how we can respond to the ache in the world, what I cite from 1500, the gloom of the world. It is indeed time for vision. Now, when I say vision, y'all know me, I'm a change consultant, but I don't mean a 5-year plan or a mission statement, although those are really nice to get in print. I mean the kind of vision that lifts our gaze from the steps right in front of us to a road that leads beyond the horizon. It's the kind of vision that says, I may not get there with you, but we do have a future worth walking toward. Last week, several of us gathered in worship in the aging building of a community church that has generously offered us use of their space. It was a kind gesture, and at the very least, the experience will help us name what does and what doesn't resonate with our sense of who we are becoming. I know David loved the piano. Sometimes we find our way forward through clarity, what I call the via positiva, way opening. And sometimes we find it through contrast, what I call the via negativa, that's been my path. Doorway closing and closing and closing, because it's not mine. Years ago, I worked with a strategic planning committee of a not so small but becoming small UCC congregation. They were trying to enliven their dwindling membership. The search committee came up with some great ideas that met the needs of the members and the community they were surrounded by. Most of the members were inspired, hopeful, and creative, but there was one guy on the committee. Only one. It's a small meeting, a church, so yeah. But I called him a foot dragger. And I want y'all to know I came up with that term on my own as a kid. Foot dragger. My friends and I used to jump in a little red wagon. Anybody remember a radio flyer? Mm-hmm. We would jump in that wagon and we would go whoop, 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 careening down this grassy hill. Sometimes all in one piece. But whenever our friend Susan was in the wagon, for some reason, the wagon would slow down and stop about halfway down the hill. And we're like, what? And then one day I happened to turn around and I saw Susan dragging her feet, digging her heels into the dirt. She loved the ride. She loved the company, but she did not like the risks. In my professional life, I've come to realize that a foot dragger is someone who seems determined to slow things down. It's not because they are malicious, not at all. It's because they're afraid. They're afraid of change, afraid of the unknown, afraid of losing what's safe and familiar to them. That man on the search committee, he had a deep love for his church. He also had deep roots. His parents were founding members of it, and he was on the original cradle roll. And if you don't know what a cradle roll is, ask somebody with white hair who has been in mainstream religion. He was on the original cradle roll. He couldn't see past the present moment at that time. One evening, and I will never forget, after a particularly productive meeting, he pulled me aside and, taking his pipe out of his mouth and pointing at me emphatically, he said, "When we die, we want this church to die with us. Leave us alone." Ooh. 7 years later, that was true. It came true. That was his vision, because it could only extend as far as he could see. His imagination had shut down completely to any sort of future vision. So we've all had friends and worked on committees with foot draggers. And if we're honest, sometimes we're the foot dragger. We dig our heels in, not out of defiance, but out of fear of what's ahead. Maybe we're afraid of what the future will bring. Maybe we're afraid of our limited perspective. Or maybe we're overwhelmed by what the future will ask of us. But I'm here to tell you, faith is not only to be lived in the rear view mirror. Faith invites us to jump in the wagon, knees tucked in, holding on with eyes focused and hearts open, leaning forward into an unknown future. So Quakers originate from people who lived and breathed their vision. The earliest friends, who are called the Valiant 60, although there were likely at least double that, they spread their message of radical equality and peace, despite the world around them scoffing and scorning. Quakers used to be as bad, the term Quakers used to be as bad as the term queer, because it was a scorn. And they punished them even to the point of death. And yet these friends dared to imagine a world where the inner light in every person could be seen and honored. They acted on their vision, even though they wouldn't live to see most of it bear fruit. And you know, we are here as a result of their long ago, centuries old vision. To have a spiritual vision doesn't mean we have all the answers. I've run from anybody who thinks they do have all the answers. It means that we trust that the path continues beyond us, that spirit is still moving, and that we are called to keep walking that path. A vision is not a rigid plan. To me, it's a holy possibility. It's a loose framework. I like to see it as a Jell-O mold. It may wobble, it may change shapes, but something solid is forming within it. The truth is, a vision is never perfect from the beginning, because it evolves as we evolve. And vision just isn't something for a community to discern. Each of us is called to tend the light within ourselves and to imagine what living our faith looks like in our own lives. And within communal vision, there are also countless individual visions that come together, a clarity of purpose rooted in spirit. When each of us listens deeply to our own vision for our lives, then our gathered body becomes more attuned to a communal vision. It's not like herding cats. It's each of us being clear about what we bring to a community vision. Without vision, it feels like we're just circling the block. Have you ever been at that place in your life? I call it wash, rinse, and repeat. Like the movie Groundhog Day, we live the same day over and over again until we choose something different. And I love the old saying. It's not old. It's old to me because I use it all the time. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you keep on getting what you've always got. And I add to it, you got to do different to get different. So, what new possibilities are we willing to explore? Individually and communally. I love that we explored a possibility last week. We're not just here to maintain a meeting. We are being called to build a new future in this new, scary paradigm that I really feel humanity is birthing. A future that uplifts the vital Quaker testimonies that the world seems to be aching for right now. Simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality. May those be the pillars of our vision. When we explore vision, we may be tempted to start by asking, well, what is my vision for my life? What is our vision for this meeting? But I want us to be a little bolder and to ask, what is God's vision for me right now? What is God's vision for this meeting? What seeds are we being asked to plant, even if we never see the harvest, like Johnny Appleseed? He never even saw the trees, much less the apples. What would future members of Winston-Salem Friends meeting have to say about us? What stories will they tell about our courage, our faithfulness, and our risks? In Jeremiah 29, we hear God speaking tenderly to a people in exile. I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future. Not a roadmap. I didn't hear anything about a roadmap, no GPS, but a promise, and not a blueprint, but an ongoing relationship with the Holy. Vision is how we say yes to those promises. And so I ask, what vision can you embrace for yourself? What vision can we embrace for this meeting? Not just what do we want, but what is ours to build for the future? Not our future, but God's future for us and others who come behind us. Let us be the ones who begin the planting. Let us be the ones who dare to imagine, not digging in our heels, but digging in the soil of possibilities. Rather than being content with just preserving what has been, the status quo, let us participate in what God is creating anew. This is something we can lean into, that God, Spirit, the mystery is already there in the future, calling us, beckoning us forward, waiting to welcome us if we're willing to work toward it. So let yourself dream. Let yourself off the hook just to imagine. It's our work now to discern, to trust, and to keep saying yes to new possibilities. Doesn't mean we have to sign on any dotted line, as long as we just keep saying yes. Yes, until the vision entrusted to us begins to unfold. And as simple and as challenging as that may seem, so it is. Amen.